Today, I want to talk about something that has the power to change not just individual careers, but entire workplaces. And that is how we empower other women. Because here's the truth: empowerment is not a slogan, it's not a hashtag, and it's not something that happens passively. It's something we do intentionally, consistently, and often quietly in everyday moments. Research shows that organizations with more women in leadership perform better financially, demonstrate stronger collaboration, and are more innovative. And yet, women are still underrepresented in leadership roles. So the question becomes, what can we do right now in our own workplaces to change that? Let's start with one of the most powerful tools we have: mentorship. Studies show that about 70% of women attribute their success to mentorship or strong networks of support, and yet more than half of women report never having a formal mentor. That gap matters. Because mentorship is not just about guidance, it's about access, confidence, and visibility. So instead of saying something vague like, let me know if you need anything, try something more intentional. Say, I'd love to support your growth. Let's meet once a month and identify one opportunity that stretches your leadership skills. That's how empowerment starts: with structure, with clarity, with follow through. But mentorship alone is not enough. We also need sponsorship, and this is where many leaders unintentionally fall short. A mentor talks to you, a sponsor talks about you, in rooms you're not in. Research shows that individuals with sponsors are significantly more likely to be promoted. So, what does that look like in real life? It sounds like this. I want to highlight that this idea came from Jessica. She should lead this presentation, or she's ready for this next role. That moment, when you use your voice to elevate someone else, can change the trajectory of her career. Another critical piece of empowerment is psychological safety. This is the ability for someone to speak up without fear of being dismissed, interrupted, or judged. And here's what we know: women are more likely to hold back ideas in environments where they don't feel safe. So, as a leader, your role is to create space, not just physically, but conversationally. You might say, I want to pause here. I noticed you had a thought. I'd really like to hear it. Or, let's make sure everyone has a chance to weigh in before we move forward. These are small shifts, but they have a big impact, because when people feel heard, they contribute more, and when they contribute more, they grow. Another powerful way to empower other women is simply this: share opportunities, not just advice, because advice is helpful, but access is transformational. If you see a speaking opportunity, a leadership role, or a high visibility project, don't just think about who is most obvious. Think intentionally: who could grow from this, who is ready but maybe hasn't been seen yet, and then say, I thought of you for this. This aligns perfectly with your strengths. That one sentence can open a door that might otherwise stay closed. Now let's talk about something more subtle, but equally important: bias. Because even in the most well-intentioned workplaces, bias shows up. It shows up when women are interrupted more frequently. It shows up when their ideas are overlooked until someone else repeats them. And it shows up in the language we use. So part of empowerment is learning how to interrupt that pattern in real time. For example, if someone gets cut off, you can say, I'd like to hear her finish her thought. Or if an idea gets repeated without credit, I want to go back. This was actually her idea earlier. That's called amplification, and it's one of the simplest, most effective ways to support other women in meetings. Another area where empowerment matters is how we talk about ambition, because women often face a double bind. If they're confident, they're labeled aggressive. If they're collaborative, they're seen as less competent. So as leaders, we need to actively reframe that narrative. When someone says, she's too aggressive, you can respond with, I see strong leadership and clear communication. That shift matters because language shapes perception, and perception shapes opportunity. Let's also talk about recognition, because research shows that women are less likely to receive credit for their contributions, so we have to be intentional about giving it. Publicly, consistently. You might say, I want to recognize her work here. This strategy was driven by her insights. Or send a message that highlights her contribution across the team. Recognition is not just about appreciation, it's about visibility, and visibility drives advancement. Another important piece of this conversation is something we don't talk about enough, and that's collaboration versus competition. There's this outdated narrative that women have to compete with each other to succeed, but the data tells a different story. Diverse and collaborative teams perform better. So instead of creating environments where people are compared, create environments where people are supported. You might say, this was a team effort, and the success came from how you all worked together. Because when collaboration becomes the norm, everyone rises. And finally, one of the most powerful things you can do is model what empowerment looks like. Because people don't just listen to what you say, they watch what you do. They watch how you speak, how you set boundaries, how you advocate for yourself and others. So when you say something like, I'm setting this boundary so I can lead effectively, you're not just helping yourself, you're giving permission for others to do the same. And that's how culture shifts. One conversation at a time, one decision at a time, one moment of courage at a time. Because when you empower other women, you're not just helping one person. You're strengthening a system, you're building a pipeline, and you're creating a workplace where leadership is not limited by gender, but expanded by it. So I'll leave you with this question. Who is one woman in your workplace that you can support this week? And what is one specific action you will take to help her grow? Because empowerment doesn't happen someday. It happens today, in the choices you make, and the voices you elevate. Make sure to like, subscribe, and grab my free leadership workbook, 5 Steps to Communicate with Calm, Clarity, and Confidence at powerofpeacefulness.com. Until next time, take a deep breath, embrace the present moment, and keep walking your path to peace.